Hello, this is Dustin with Dustin's Dollars, and today I am again talking about Knightscope. And today I'm going to be addressing the topic as best as I can of do Knightscope's security robots work? We're going to look at the evidence, positive and negative, and I will let you form your own opinion. Before I begin in earnest, let me remind you that I am not a financial advisor or a financial professional of any sort. All opinions that I express in this video are mine and do not represent those of any company or any other individual. I do own Knightscope stock. I have a long position in Knightscope. So basically, this should be for your entertainment only because I could be wrong about everything I say in this video, and you need to do your own research before making any investment decisions. So that being said, let's talk. What is the evidence of Knightscope robots? Because frankly, I would love to actually see one in action, but I don't know that there are any deployed anywhere near my area. And I mean, I would love to spend the $100,000 and have one patrol my property, but I don't have that kind of change laying around just to see if the robots work or not. So that's not feasible. So what I have to go on is the publicly available evidence, and let me go through what I have found, both, like I said, positive and negative. And I'm going to start off with all of the negatives and then go on to the positives as far as I see them. So first thing, I think everyone who's looked into Knightscope has found this lovely article from 2017, I believe it is, July of 2017. Robot drowns in fountain mishap. So this is pretty hilarious, I will admit. Now, this doesn't really imply to me that the robots are completely broken and completely don't work, because surely this thing had been moving around before it, decided to commit suicide in the fountain. But at this point, you can say that, hey, well, maybe the robots have a little bit of work, that they need to do to them before they're really ready for prime time. Again, I will remind you, this was in 2017. Then there also was another issue, and this was actually a year early. Maybe I should have these in chronological order. This was in 2016. I don't think there's any great pictures here, but the headline in the article was "Robot runs over toddler in shopping center." It says that the robot hit her son's head. He fell down on the floor, and the robot did not stop. And of course, this is pretty awful, and we can't have that, right? If these are going to be in public places, I would very much classify this as the robot not working, right? This is not a saleable product if the robots are going to be doing this. And I can imagine that this particular incident probably scared off potential prospects, potential clients of Knightscope when they saw this, right? Because it raises questions in terms of probably who is actually liable, right? If someone were to get injured by the robot that's deployed at a client's premises, who is liable for that? And that's a bit scary for potential clients. And so I can imagine this is a pretty big negative for Knightscope. But I will again note that this was back in July of 2016. So it has been 5.5 years since then. The company was only, I think, like 3 years old at that point. They're what, 8 years old now? 8 or 9, something like that. I think they started in 2013, and that's when I'm trying to do the math in my head. So there's that. Here is another one. This is, again, around the 2016 timeframe, maybe into 2017. It's not exactly clear. We know that, sorry, I should go on to what this is. This is there was a lawsuit filed against Knightscope back in, I don't know when it was actually filed. It was settled, or I guess ruled upon in 2018. And this was a former employee, a quote unquote, I think it was a VP of business development, hired near the end of 2015 and was fired in 2017, August of 2017. So somewhere in that time frame, right? Mostly 2016, maybe first half of 2017. He was in sales, and allegedly, this is what's written into the lawsuit. Allegedly, he began to complain, right? Plaintiff claims that the customers to whom he did sell robots began to complain about the robot's performance. So that he claimed that the robot's lack of reliability made his job more difficult and tarnished his reputation within the industry. And so, that's, again, we don't actually know what's credible because he's in this lawsuit. who knows what would actually help his case. That he was actually seeking money owed to him because of, I think, some sales, earned but unpaid commissions over $100,000 at the time. And so that is that is concerning, right? But again, I will remind you, this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I guess, in 2016. So 2016, maybe 2017, beginning 2017 timeframe, somewhere in there. So this is, let's say, just round it up, roughly 5 years ago. So again, I'm going through all the negatives, then I'll get on to what I view as the positives, right? Then the other one, and this is more recent. This is in April of 2021. The client received notice. The company received notice of a client's intent not to renew its machine as a service agreement for the 12-month subscription spanning 2021 to 2022. And this was a large client, right? They note this. This is noted in, again, I've referenced this many times. This is their Knightscope's most recent offering circular that they filed with the SEC when they were raising, the past couple of months. And they note this particular cancellation, right? Intent not to renew for this client because this was a large client. They represented over 10% of the company's 2020 revenue. And I think I called this one out both because it is clearly a large client and it is recent. And this is very much secondary. This is not direct evidence that the robots don't work, because this doesn't say why they decided not to renew it, but it does at least raise some suspicion that you do wonder, is it because the robots didn't work? Now, on the flip side, I would actually say I'm not that this one doesn't concern me as much as some of the others, because in terms of directly making a connection to saying that the robots don't work, and that is because of two things. Number one, as I said before in prior videos, this was during the pandemic, and financial situation of various clients. Many companies got completely decimated due to the effects of that. And the secondary thing with this is this client had to have had multiple machines. I think for them to have been over 10% of the company's 2020 revenue would have meant that probably a 5 or maybe 6 machine deployment at minimum, I think, right? Because they had roughly 50 something, 51 or 52 machines. What machines in network, I think, is their term for it. And so presumably this client, before signing up for that amount of money for the robots, would have done their due diligence and said, yes, these things do work. And for all we know, maybe they had a smaller deployment earlier on, right, and the deployment of one machine for a year, and then in 2018 or 2019, and then upped it as they saw the robot's effectiveness. So this is, again, a very indirect, but it is at least a possibility. And I think sort of along these lines, when we saw the flat growth in 2019 or so, before the pandemic, you do have to wonder, right? Presumably they were still making sales, meaning they were there. We would have expected some sales to be made, and for the number of robots deployed to be going up. But because it was actually flat, that implies that somebody was canceling. And why were they canceling? I don't know, right? Maybe partially it is because the robots didn't work all that well. Again, that's sort of like in years past, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see as things go on. And so now, those are the negatives. Let me go on to the positives. And first, I'm going with the biggest, strongest positive, and that is the City of Huntington Park, Los Angeles County, the police department that used the robot, and they have actual data collected that they, that because they are a public entity, they are able to share this data, and this is fantastic. I've mentioned before, this is one of the the best possible marketing you could have, a police department that has concrete data showing that the robot worked very well and has a positive impact. And there's even, this is directly, sorry, if you want to go look at this for yourself, it's at knightscope.com/crime. And they have this video of a police officer talking to the city council when they were deciding whether or not to renew the contract with Knightscope. And I'm going to try to play just a tiny little clip because it's beautiful. And I'm hoping that the audio will come through. If not, I apologize. It's probably going to be just quiet for 15 seconds for you or so, and then you can watch it yourself if you want. So let's try this out.
Can you tell us what is the cost to actually have a patrol officer versus having a RoboCop?
Well, the reality is that a patrol officer cannot do what modern technology can do through the use of this robot. One of the significant features of the robot is that it records activity in high definition 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It also provides an alert button feature where patrons of the park can communicate with our police dispatch should they feel they need to. It provides a license plate reader feature where the robot is actually collecting data of license plates that it can read during its route, and it collects this data. It just simply stores it. We can go back and feed.
So I'm not going to go over all of it, right? You can watch the whole clip if you want yourself. There's another minute left. It's not super long, but I don't want to spend the rest of the time, especially if the audio didn't come through, right? Let me paraphrase just in case the audio didn't come through. This is my first time trying that out. He basically said, the reality is that an officer cannot do what the robot can do, right? That the robot, captures HD video and stores it, and they can go back and view everything. Says that the robots read all the license plates and store all of that information, that they can go back and take a look at that. When I'm asking myself the question, do the robots work? And I have a police officer attesting in public to the city council that yes, the robot not only works, it does things that a police officer just can't do. To me, that's pretty strong. I think that's pretty strong positive evidence that the robots do actually work. There was another blog post from Knightscope. They highlight a couple of the positives from a couple of their clients. One of them I just wanted to highlight was, they said the client was experiencing one to two vehicle break-ins or thefts per week, and it's gone down to 0 in the last 10 months after the robot was deployed. And there's a couple more on this page. You can find this on the Knightscope blog. The headline is Knightscope credited for reducing crime. I think that's great evidence. Another one, if you do look, right, this is actually to sort of counterbalance the prior negative evidence that I'd said. I stored a copy before they took it down of the old Knightscope investors page before they actually switched everything over to investor relations. And you can see they had these blog posts every so often, and they don't give hard data on how many clients cancel and how many renew, but they had a number of posts here where they say, hey, this same client continued to work with Knightscope to renew its 2 prior subscriptions for the 4th year. They have more. Tier 1 auto supplier renews for the 5th year. Another Knightscope renewal. Drive-in movie theater apparently was a renewal. I know they had a couple. Yeah. Another corporate client renews for the 5th year. 3-Star Electronics Corporation, whatever that means. California Shopping Center renewed for a 2nd year. And I think there was like another. Let's see. Here's a casino. Pachanga Resort and Casino renewed its contract for a 4th year for 6 robots, right? If they have 6 of these things going around, they're paying a pretty penny. Presumably the robots work if they wanted to keep these around for a 4th year. To me, that again, that's a pretty good evidence that the robots do actually work. Even if some clients are canceling, this is at least positive evidence that they do work, right? Maybe some clients cancel because they decide they don't want them anymore. Maybe it doesn't seem to have an impact for them because they don't have a whole lot of crime. Maybe it's different types of crime, right? Maybe they're effective for certain crimes, but not others. I don't know. But when I see this, the renewals, the concrete data from the police department, it convinces me. I'll just put it that way. The other one, this is sort of, what's not there, is we're not seeing more stories. At least I haven't seen. Feel free to share them in the comments below if you have seen more. I haven't seen more stories like this where a robot running over a toddler, robot drowning a fountain for the past 5 years, right? This was from mid-2017, so I guess past 4.5 years, if I can do the math. And this was from 2016, right? We haven't seen any more of those, and the robots do. The media does get clicks from this, right? This is a popular enough thing that if those incidents happened, presumably they would be written about, and they would be shared on social media. and that we haven't seen that. So I think that's more, again, that's not strong evidence, but the longer time goes on and we don't see these sorts of incidents, that is I place it in the positive category. Another one, and this is weaker in terms of it's not really direct evidence, but they went public, right? They went public. The stock price is going up or down every trading day based on public sentiment, supply and demand for the shares, but public sentiment basically at this point. And they did this also with a 6-month lockup period. I think going public gives a little more of shines a spotlight a little more on the company than when they were a private company, and unless when that information is out there, it does reflect itself in the stock price. And the fact that they went public with a 6-month lockup for the insiders, and actually you have Bill, who holds a very large stake, has said, and we'll judge him by his actions, but has said that he doesn't intend to sell for well after this period. He's not going to sell just after 6 months. The fact that they're holding, if they didn't think that these robots worked and they weren't confident in it, I can't imagine they would have tried to IPO with a 6-month lockup, right? They might have wanted to cash out at least some chunk of their shares pretty soon, right? Because I think most of those executives, they're making good salaries, but it's nothing compared to what they have in their stock options and their shares. So I think that is yet another thing that sort of adds a little bit of evidence that that the robots do work, and at least that management believes that they work. So, all right, that is the positive and negatives. That's how I have actually formed my opinion and convinced myself that I think the robots work. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you have other sources of evidence, right? If I as the saying goes, when the facts change, I change my mind, and I think I would be interested if there is other evidence out there. I may change my mind, and that would be interesting. So anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good day.